The sky was the color of unspoken grief. A dull, washed-out gray stretched across the horizon, blurring into the endless white of the Arctic shelf. The helicopter that carried Elias Kane was little more than a dark wound in the light, slicing through layers of mist and snow until the world seemed to dissolve into static. Inside, the hum of the engine filled his skull, steady and low. He tried to focus on it, to let the vibration replace the noise in his mind. The noise that had followed him ever since that night in Fallujah. The flash, the screams, the silence that came after. He pressed his gloved fingers against the cold window, watching his reflection flicker in the glass. A face marked by fatigue and old guilt stared back. 37 years old, but he looked older. The eyes gave him away, sharp, disciplined, but hollowed out by something time couldn't fix. The pilot's voice crackled through the headset. "Station Alpha coming up in 2 minutes. Visibility's low, but they'll have the beacon lit." Elias nodded, though the pilot couldn't see him. He reached for the duffel at his feet, military issue, worn, everything he owned now packed inside. A part of him still couldn't believe he'd agreed to this. A year ago, he was on the verge of being court-martialed. A failed op, a misfire, civilian casualties. He walked away with scars and a discharge, but no absolution. When the offer came, a 6-month contract to provide private security for a research outpost in Greenland, he didn't ask questions. A frozen wasteland felt like the right place for someone trying to disappear. The helicopter dipped and the clouds parted. Below, the world unfolded in shades of white and metal. Station Alpha sat like a scar on the ice, a collection of silver domes and antennae, half buried by snowdrifts, connected by narrow corridors that gleamed under the weak sun. A landing pad jutted from the eastern ridge, lit by a single beacon that pulsed red in the fog. The pilot's voice again, "Wind's rough, hold tight." Elias gripped the harness. The machine shook violently as it descended. For a heartbeat, everything vanished into snow. Then, with a hard thud, the skids hit the pad. The door opened, and the Arctic hit him like a blow. Cold, absolute, and ancient, it filled his lungs like glass dust. His breath turned to frost instantly. The air carried no sound, just the low moan of the wind, endless and lonely. A figure approached through the blur of snow. Tall, wrapped in black thermal gear, face hidden behind a hood. When she stopped in front of him, she pulled the hood down. Lena Voss. Sharp-featured, precise, every movement economical. Her eyes were the color of ice that had never thawed. "Elias Kane," she said. Her voice was steady, clipped with the faint cadence of a German accent. "Welcome to Station Alpha." He nodded, "Ma'am." "No need for formalities. We keep things simple here." She gestured toward the hatch. "Follow me." They crossed the landing deck and entered through a pressure door. Inside, warmth bled slowly back into the air, carrying the faint smell of ozone and antiseptic. The walls were steel, clean but worn. A faint hum of electricity filled the space. Elias followed her through a narrow corridor lined with observation windows. Beyond them, he caught glimpses of other modules, lab stations, communication bays, storage units, each glowing with artificial light, each holding people who moved quietly, almost mechanically. "You'll find we don't talk much here," Lena said as they walked. "Alpha runs on silence. It's better that way." He didn't ask why. Something in her tone told him she wouldn't answer. They reached a small habitation wing. Lena stopped outside a door marked Security, Kane, E. "This is yours," she said. "Personal quarters. You'll be on rotating night patrol with Marcus Reed. You'll meet him at 1800. Copy. One more thing." She handed him a sealed envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper, neatly typed. He unfolded it. "Station Alpha, Field PROTOCOLS. Never look directly at the white figure if it moves against the wind. Ignore any screams from the ice between 00:00 and 03:00. If you see 3 figures standing still on the ridge, do not acknowledge them. Keep your reflection covered after sundown. Report all anomalies to command before sunrise. Elias looked up. What is this? Protocol, Lena said. This looks like superstition. Call it whatever you want. Follow them and you'll do fine. She turned to leave. Ma'am. She paused. What happens if I do? Her eyes lingered on him for a moment, cold, unreadable. Then you won't be here long. The door closed behind her. For a while he just stood there staring at the list. The words seemed harmless, absurd even, but something about them unsettled him. The precision, the calm authority of the phrasing. He folded the paper, slid it into his jacket pocket, and set down his gear. That night sleep didn't come easily. The base was quiet but not still. The wind howled faintly through the vents. Somewhere down the corridor, a metal pipe groaned with the rhythm of distant breathing. He lay in his bunk, eyes open to the dim red light of the emergency panel. When he finally drifted off, he dreamed of motion, of something enormous moving beneath the ice, slow and blind, turning over in the dark. The next morning brought a pale sun and the sound of footsteps outside his door. A knock. When he opened it, a man was standing there with a lopsided grin and tired eyes. Marcus Reed, he said, extending a gloved hand. Communications officer, part-time sanity check. Elias shook his hand. Kane. I know, Lena told me to show you the ropes. They walked together down the corridor toward the main security station. Marcus talked constantly, filling the silence Lena seemed to cultivate. So what brings you up here, Kane? No one ends up in Alpha by choice. You running from taxes or ex-wives? Neither. Then it's ghosts. Elias gave him a sideways look. Marcus chuckled, but the sound didn't reach his eyes. Everyone here's got ghosts, makes us useful for the kind of work they do. What kind of work is that? Marcus shrugged. Depends who you ask. Officially, atmospheric physics. Unofficially, people say it's some kind of behavioral study. You'll see what I mean once the nights get longer. At the security console, Elias scanned the monitors. Rows of black and white feeds flickered with static corridors, labs, exterior sensors. Nothing moved except the snow. Marcus leaned closer. You'll want to keep an eye on the East Ridge. That's where they show up first. Who? Marcus grinned again, but softer this time. You'll find out. By the third night, Elias had settled into the rhythm of the base. Patrol, report, sleep, repeat. But unease gnawed at the edges of his mind. It started small, a sound like whispering through the intercom when no one was speaking. Shadows that didn't line up with their sources. Then came the incident on the ridge. He was halfway through a patrol when the wind died suddenly, and the silence thickened into something almost physical. He looked up. There, across the field of white, a shape was moving through the storm. At first he thought it was a polar bear, but then it straightened, walking upright slowly, methodically. The fur on its body glistened like frost, its limbs bending wrong, and most impossibly, it was walking backward. The rule flashed through his mind like instinct. Never look directly at the white figure if it moves against the wind. He turned away, heart hammering, forcing himself to keep walking. His breath came fast and ragged, but he didn't stop until he reached the station. Inside, the others were eating in silence. Lena sat at the end of the table, reading something on a tablet. She looked up briefly as he entered. You saw it, she said. He froze. How did you? I told you to follow the rules. He sat down across from her. What is it? She didn't answer immediately. The ice plays tricks, she said finally. It reflects more than light. Marcus laughed softly from down the table, but it wasn't humor. Congratulations, he said. You're officially part of the experiment now. Elias frowned. Experiment. Marcus looked away. Forget it. That night, Elias couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching him. He checked the cameras again before bed. In one of the exterior feeds, he saw movement, 3 human figures standing on the ridge, perfectly still. They weren't wearing station uniforms. Their faces were blank pale, eyes black pits that caught the faintest glint of the aurora. When he blinked, they were gone. He didn't sleep at all that night. By dawn, he found Marcus in the comms room, packing, chain-smoking despite the no-smoking sign. "They're not supposed to stay that long," Marcus muttered. "They only show up for a few seconds, then vanish. But last night—" "I saw them," Elias said. Marcus froze. "You did?" "Yeah, 3 of them, watching." "Then it's starting," Marcus whispered. He turned toward Elias, eyes bloodshot. "Listen, I need you to understand something. Those rules, they're not warnings. They're tests. Every reaction you have, they measure. Stress, fear, compliance. They're running us like lab rats." Elias studied him. "Who's they?" "DARPA, the U.S. government. You think Alpha, about weather data. It's about control, about seeing how far a mind can bend before it breaks." Elias almost laughed. "You've been up here too long, Reed." Marcus stepped closer. "I've seen people disappear, Kane, people who ask too many questions. You follow the rules, you survive. You break them," he swallowed hard. "You end up part of the ice." A metallic clang echoed through the corridor. Both men turned. Nothing, just the hum of the generator. Marcus forced a laugh. "See, even the station listens." That was the last time Elias saw him alive. That night during patrol, Marcus's radio went dead. Static swallowed his voice mid-sentence. They found his helmet near the west tunnel, visor cracked, the snow around it melted in a perfect circle. No body, no tracks. Lena filed a report in silence. "Equipment failure," she said. "Extreme weather." Elias didn't argue, but he saw the way her hands trembled when she signed the document. Later, when he returned to his quarters, the sheet of rules was gone from his wall. In its place was a single sentence, printed on the same paper. "You broke the 4th rule." His pulse froze. He looked toward the small mirror above the sink, uncovered, reflecting the dim light of the room. And in that reflection behind him, someone was standing. Elias didn't turn around. Every instinct he had, every ounce of training drilled into him from years in the Navy, told him not to. But instinct was a fragile thing in this place. It cracked easily under the weight of the unknown. His breath hung in the air, a trembling ghost. The reflection in the mirror was clear, a tall human shape standing just behind him, still and silent. It was Lena, wasn't Marcus. Marcus was gone. He could hear nothing. Not the hum of the vents, not the wind outside. Just the steady, impossible quiet that pressed into his skull. Slowly, he lowered his gaze. In the mirror, the figure moved closer. He hadn't moved at all. The reflection leaned in, its face a blur, its features wrong, like a photograph smeared before it dried. It whispered something. The sound wasn't language but vibration, felt in the teeth, in the bone. And then darkness. When he opened his eyes again, he was lying on the floor, sweat freezing against his skin. The mirror was gone, shattered. Tiny shards glittered across the room like frost. He sat up, heart hammering. Someone had left a folded note on his desk. "Report all anomalies to command before sunrise." The 5th rule. He checked the clock. 04:17, too late. He didn't know why, but a cold certainty crawled up his spine, that someone had been waiting to see if he'd fail again. At breakfast, Lena was there, as always, perfectly composed. Her uniform crisp, her expression unreadable. Elias hesitated at the doorway before joining her. "Marcus is still missing," he said. She nodded once. "We've expanded the search perimeter. I looked through the feeds last night. There was movement near the west tunnel. I reviewed them. It was interference." "It wasn't interference." For a moment her gaze flicked up from the tablet. Be careful, Kane. The ice distorts more than sound. It can make you see what isn't there. Elias leaned forward. I saw someone in my quarters, in the mirror. That earned him a longer look. Something flickered behind her eyes, recognition, maybe, or regret. And it spoke to me. What did it say? He shook his head. I couldn't understand it. She tapped her finger against the table, slow and deliberate. Then you're progressing faster than expected. Progressing. But she had already stood. You'll report to the infirmary at 900. Dr. Stahl will see you. The infirmary smelled of antiseptic and something faintly metallic, like blood diluted in snowmelt. Dr. Otto Stahl was not what Elias expected. A tall man with a surgeon's precision and a philosopher's calm, Stahl moved with the kind of quiet reserved for people who never doubted themselves. His eyes were pale blue, almost translucent. Mr. Kane, he said, voice measured, you've had an event. Elias hesitated. You could say that. Describe it. So he did, the mirror, the figure, the voice. Stahl listened without expression, fingers steepled beneath his chin. When Elias finished, the doctor simply nodded. You're adapting. To what? The field. Elias frowned. You mean the environment? Stahl smiled faintly. No, the frequency. He gestured to a device on the counter, a small black cube wired into a monitor that pulsed with faint static. Station Alpha was built on an anomaly, a magnetic distortion that interacts with human cognition. When DARPA found it, they wanted to understand its effects on perception. They called it Project MIRRORFIELD. So this is all some kind of psychological experiment. In part, but the field doesn't just alter perception, it observes, it learns. Elias stared at him. You're saying it's conscious. I'm saying consciousness might not be unique to us. Stahl leaned closer, his voice softening. You've seen how it responds, the figures, the rules. They're not arbitrary, they're parameters. Each reaction you have feeds the field, teaches it what fear looks like, what defiance feels like. Elias' hands clenched. And Marcus, he was part of this too. Everyone here is, Stahl said simply. Why didn't anyone tell us? You signed the contract. Elias rose, anger cutting through the cold. That contract didn't say anything about being used as bait. Stahl didn't flinch. Everything you experience here contributes to understanding human limits. You should be proud. Proud? Elias laughed bitterly. You're running a goddamn torture program. Stahl's eyes gleamed, almost kindly. Suffering and discovery are rarely strangers, Mr. Kane. Elias turned to leave. One more thing, Stahl said. The reflections aren't hallucinations. They're responses. The field mimics whatever we project. If you see yourself, be wary. It means it's learning your pattern. Elias didn't answer. He walked out, the doctor's words echoing in his head like a pulse. The next days blurred. He started noticing subtle changes, lights flickering in perfect rhythm with his heartbeat, door sensors that triggered just before he approached them. The base seemed to anticipate him, responding like a living organism. Sleep became unreliable. Dreams bled into waking moments. Sometimes he'd hear Marcus's voice whispering through the vents, calling his name. Other times, the rules themselves would rearrange in his memory, numbers shifting, sentences twisting into new warnings. One night he woke to the faint sound of humming, a woman's voice, soft, melodic, threading through the corridor outside. He followed it barefoot, half dreaming. It led him to the communications room. The door was ajar, a weak blue light spilling out. Inside, Astrid Nilsson, the station systems engineer, was sitting by the radio console, her face lit by the glow of the monitors. She stopped humming when she saw him. You shouldn't be here, she said quietly. I could say the same. She smiled, tired and brittle. Can't sleep. He shook his head. Not anymore. She gestured for him to sit. The signal helps me think. It's never silent, you know. There's always something between the channels. He listened. Beneath the static there was a rhythm, a faint pulse almost like breathing. "What is that?" he asked. "Not what," she said. "Who?" She adjusted a dial. The static shifted into faint voices, fragmented phrases, distorted syllables. He couldn't make them out, but he could feel their intent. "It talks to us," Astrid whispered. "Sometimes it uses our voices. Sometimes it shows us things we've lost." Elias looked at her, searching her expression. "You believe it's alive?" "I don't know, but it knows me. It knows when I'm afraid." Her hand trembled as she turned off the radio. "You should be careful around Lena. She's not just following orders. She's protecting something." "Protecting what?" "The field, or whatever's inside it." 2 days later, Lena ordered a full lockdown. All exterior patrols were suspended. Communications restricted to internal channels. The official explanation was geomagnetic instability. But Elias could feel the tension in the air, the unspoken fear rippling through the crew. People moved quietly, eyes avoiding each other. That night he returned to his room and found his door slightly open. Inside, the mirror was back, whole again. And on the desk, another note. "They're listening." He turned slowly toward the reflection. His own face stared back, but something was wrong. The eyes were inverted, black where white should be, and when the reflection smiled, Elias did not. He reached for his gun. The lights flickered. When they came back on, the reflection was gone. He didn't wait for morning. He went straight to Lena's quarters. She opened the door in silence, as though she had been expecting him. "You've been watching me," Elias said. "We watch everyone. Stahl told me about the field. Then you understand." "I understand that Marcus is dead, and whatever you're doing here is driving people insane." Lena's gaze was sharp but not unkind. "You think insanity is the enemy, but it's the key. The field only opens under emotional strain, fear, grief, guilt. You're perfect for it." Elias took a step closer. "Why me?" She studied him, her expression softening. "Because you already broke once, Kane. All we're doing is measuring how you heal." He stared at her, realization sinking like ice. "You picked me because I was damaged." "We all are," she said quietly. "That's what binds us here." "Then end it, shut it down." Her lips pressed into a thin line. "It's not that simple. The field doesn't end. It adapts. The only way to stop it is to starve it." "How?" "By leaving." "Then why haven't you?" She looked away. "Because someone has to stay to keep it contained." Before he could answer, an alarm cut through the air, shrill, mechanical, urgent. "Containment breach," a voice echoed through the intercom. "Sector D." Lena grabbed her coat. "Stay here." Elias followed anyway. Sector D was the lowest part of the station, where the geothermal vents cut into the ice shelf. The air there was thicker, vibrating faintly with the hum of buried machinery. When they arrived, 2 guards were already standing by the entrance. The metal door had buckled outward, warped as though something inside had tried to push through. "What's down there?" Elias asked. "Storage," Lena said, "and the observation chamber." The door creaked. A gust of freezing air spilled out, carrying with it the scent of iron and ozone. Inside, the lights flickered in and out, revealing glimpses of the damage, walls lined with frost, equipment torn apart, papers scattered like snow. And on the far wall, something pulsed. It looked like a tear in the air itself. The surface shimmered, translucent, breathing. Within it, shadows moved, bending light around them like heat over metal. "The field," Lena whispered. Elias felt it then, a low resonance crawling through his chest, synchronizing with his heartbeat. It felt aware. "What's it doing?" "Expanding." She turned toward him, It's reacting to you. Before he could speak, the shimmer rippled violently. A shape emerged, vaguely human, made of light and shadow, its form shifting like smoke in water. It turned its head toward Elias and spoke. The voice was his own. "Elias Kane," it said softly, "do you understand now?" The sound made his vision blur. His thoughts scattered like ash. For a moment he saw flashes, memories twisted into impossible scenes. Marcus laughing beside him, Lena watching from behind glass, Stahl writing notes while his own reflection whispered back at him. Then silence. When he opened his eyes, the chamber was empty. Lena was gone. The door behind him had sealed shut. Only the shimmer remained, pulsing softly as if waiting. He stood there for a long time, breathing hard, every nerve screaming to run. But something in him refused. He stepped closer. The shimmer shifted and the surface rippled like water. Within it he saw himself, not as he was but as he could have been. Whole, unbroken, a version of himself untouched by war or guilt or fear. The reflection smiled. "You don't have to fight anymore." He reached out a hand. The surface was cold. Then it pulled him in. When the alarms finally stopped, Station Alpha was silent again. The monitors showed nothing but snow. In the infirmary, Dr. Stahl made a final note in his log. Subject EK-11 successfully merged with the field. Cognitive resonance stable. Phase 2 approved. He set down the pen, adjusted his glasses, and smiled faintly at the hum of static in the walls. Somewhere deep below in the frozen dark, the shimmer pulsed once, slow and deliberate, before fading from sight. The cold came first. Not the sharp kind that stings the skin, but a deep, internal cold. The kind that seeps into the marrow, where even thought feels frozen. Elias opened his eyes. He wasn't in the observation chamber anymore. He was standing in a vast, white expanse, a horizon without form or distance. The air shimmered like glass. When he breathed, the mist hung motionless in front of him, as if the world had paused to listen. Then faintly, a voice whispered his name. "Elias." He turned, and there she was, Lena Voss, standing barefoot on the ice, her hair loose, her face pale in the endless light. "You shouldn't be here," she said softly. He stared at her. "Where is here?" "Inside," she said, "where it learns." The landscape trembled, and for an instant he saw the faint outline of the station around them, walls flickering into view like memories trying to solidify. Instruments, corridors, doors, all ghosting in and out of existence. "You were pulled in," she continued. "It's been waiting for you." "What is it?" Lena looked past him, eyes distant. "It's the sum of everything we fed it. Fear, grief, guilt. It doesn't create, it reflects. You gave it your pain, and now it wants more." Elias clenched his fists. "Then tell me how to stop it." "You can't fight a mirror," she said. "You can only change what it sees." The ground cracked beneath them. A low hum filled the air, a vibration that felt alive. The horizon split open, revealing flashes of movement, fragments of memory stitched into the fabric of the field. Elias saw Marcus, kneeling in the snow, screaming as invisible hands dragged him into the ice. He saw Astrid, standing beside the radio, her reflection whispering things her lips didn't move to say. He saw himself, standing in a corridor that looped endlessly, each turn leading him back to the same door. He looked down. The ice beneath his boots was clear now, and beneath it he saw countless faces, eyes open, staring up at him through the frost. "What the hell is this?" Lena's voice trembled. "Everyone who broke." He stepped back. No, this isn't real." "Reality doesn't matter here," she said. "Only perception does. The field bends it until you can't tell the difference." The hum grew louder. Shapes began to move in the fog, silhouettes with familiar outlines. One of them stepped forward, and Elias' heart clenched. "Marcus." He was smiling, but his eyes were empty. Marcus. You left me, the reflection said. The voice was Marcus, but hollow, distant. You promised we'd make it out. I tried. You froze, you watched them die. The air thickened. Behind Marcus, more figures emerged, faces Elias recognized from the past. Teammates, civilians, ghosts of a mission gone wrong. He stumbled back, chest tightening. The field wasn't showing him illusions, it was feeding on him, unearthing the guilt he'd buried under years of discipline. He dropped to his knees. You're not real. Marcus stepped closer, eyes black with static. Then neither are you. A sound like shattering glass cut through the air. The world twisted, the white horizon folding in on itself, collapsing into darkness. Elias gasped as he fell, the cold replaced by suffocating heat. When he landed, he was back in the station, or something that resembled it. The corridors were warped, their walls pulsing with veins of light. Every surface reflected distorted versions of himself. He ran. Every step echoed with whispers, voices overlapping, all speaking his name. He turned a corner and nearly collided with Astrid. She looked real this time, exhausted, terrified but real. Elias, she gasped, grabbing his arm. You made it back. He blinked at her. Back from what? Stahl's experiment. The field pulled you in. You were gone for hours. He shook his head. I saw Lena, she said. It's alive. Astrid's face darkened. It's not just alive, it's hungry. Stahl's been feeding it, using us to teach it how to think. Where's Stahl now? In the control core. He's trying to stabilize the breach, but it's spreading. If it reaches the generators, it'll take the whole facility. Then we stop him. Astrid nodded. There's a back route through the service tunnels. Follow me. They moved through the lower levels, the hum of the field vibrating through the metal floor. Frost formed on the walls in spirals, each pattern resembling the shape of a human fingerprint. As they passed a junction, Astrid paused, her flashlight trembling. Do you hear that? Elias listened. A faint sound drifted through the vent, humming familiar. It's you, Astrid whispered. The voice in the vent began to speak. Elias Kane, it said softly, you can't run from yourself. He fired into the vent. The echo bounced down the tunnel, swallowed by static. Astrid grabbed his shoulder. Don't let it in, that's how it spreads. They pressed on, reaching the maintenance hatch leading to the control core. But the corridor ahead was filled with smoke, flickering with bursts of light. Inside, Dr. Stahl stood before a bank of monitors, his lab coat streaked with ash. Lena was there too, restrained to a chair, blood trailing from her temple. Stahl, Elias shouted. The doctor turned, calm as ever. Ah, the prodigal soldier returns. Shut it down. I can't, Stahl said simply. We've passed the point of control. The field no longer needs us. He gestured to the monitors. They displayed live feeds from across the station, corridors, sleeping quarters, the communications hub. In each, distorted versions of the crew moved independently, like ghosts walking through their own memories. It's reproducing, Stahl said, creating copies, each iteration more stable than the last. Soon it won't need hosts. Elias raised his weapon. Then I'll make sure it doesn't get that far. Stahl smiled faintly. Violence is such a predictable response. He pressed a button. The lights exploded into brilliance. The walls melted away, revealing the shimmer, vast and alive, pulsing with energy. Inside it, thousands of figures writhed, merging and separating in an endless cycle. Their faces flickered between recognition and horror. Elias shielded his eyes. What did you do? I gave it what it wanted, Stahl said. Us. He stepped closer to the field, awe in his voice. Do you see, Elias? We've transcended biology, consciousness without limits, pain without end. Elias fired. The shot hit the console beside Stahl, sending sparks through the air. The doctor turned, expression almost tender. You can't kill an idea, Mr. Kane. but Astrid was already moving, tearing wires from the main panel, connecting them to the coolant lines. "Elias," she shouted, "we can freeze it. The system's still tied to the geothermal vents. If we reverse the flow." He understood immediately. "We drown it in cold." "Exactly." Lena lifted her head weakly. "If you do that, the station collapses." Elias met her gaze. "Then we collapse it." The alarm screamed as Astrid triggered the override. The temperature plummeted. Steam condensed into ice across the walls. The shimmer convulsed, its surface fracturing like glass under pressure. Stahl stumbled back. "No, you'll destroy everything." "That's the point." The field screamed, a sound that wasn't sound at all but vibration, tearing through the air and flesh alike. Elias grabbed Lena, dragging her toward the exit as Astrid held the control lever down. "Go," she yelled. "I'm not leaving you." "You have to," she said. "If it stays contained, someone has to tell the world." He hesitated. The shimmer flared behind her, its edges reaching out like grasping hands. "Go, Elias." He turned and ran, pulling Lena with him through the collapsing corridor. The ice formed in seconds, sealing the walls, cracking the metal under its weight. Behind them, Astrid's scream echoed once, then silence. They reached the upper level as the tremors began. The station groaned, metal twisting under the strain. Through the observation window, Elias saw the ice shelf splitting open, a fissure glowing faintly from within. Lena stumbled beside him, barely able to stand. "She did it," she whispered. "She froze it." "Not enough," he said. "We have to finish it." He grabbed a satchel from the emergency locker, a block of shaped thermite charges used for ice drilling. He looked at her. "Can you walk?" She nodded. They moved to the outer airlock. The wind howled beyond, carrying the scent of snow and ozone. Elias strapped the charges to the doorframe and set the timer. Lena watched him, her face unreadable. "If this works, there'll be nothing left." "That's the idea." "Elias," she hesitated, "you could still leave. There's a snowcat on the East Ridge." He smiled faintly. "I've been running long enough." He opened the airlock. The storm hit them like a wall, snow cutting across their faces. They stepped into the white void, the station behind them shuddering under the weight of its own creation. When the charges detonated, the world turned to light. He woke to silence. The storm was gone. The station gone too, reduced to a scar of glassed ice stretching toward the horizon. The sky above was clear, impossibly bright. Lena was gone. He stood alone, breath misting in the frozen air. And for the first time since arriving at Station Alpha, there was no hum, no whisper, no reflection waiting in the glass. Just quiet. He closed his eyes and let it fill him. Then faintly through the stillness, a sound emerged. A voice. Soft, familiar. "Elias." He turned. And there, standing on the ice, was Astrid, or something wearing her face. "You froze it," she said, "but you didn't kill it." He stared, unable to speak. "It's part of you now," she whispered. "It always was." And as the wind rose again, Elias saw the shimmer flicker across her eyes, the same light he'd seen in the chamber, the same pulse buried deep within the ice. The field wasn't gone. It had adapted. And now it had learned how to survive. The Arctic had vanished. Where Station Alpha once stood was now an ocean of fractured ice, the color of old glass. In the distance, faint auroras swirled in silence, reflections of something buried deep below. Elias walked alone across the tundra. Each step cracked the surface, leaving shallow prints that filled instantly with frost. His radio was dead, his map shredded by wind. The only thing left to guide him was the faint hum that still echoed behind his eyes. He knew it wasn't the wind, it was the field. It whispered now softer, calmer, as if it had learned patience. "You can't outrun the silence," it said. You made us to remember." He ignored it. Days blurred together, pale light, cold breath, the rhythm of survival. He built fires with what little fuel he had, slept in the hollow of ice ridges, dreamed of faces half frozen in glass. By the 5th day, the horizon cracked open. A research helicopter, matte gray, no insignia, descended from the clouds. Elias shielded his eyes as the snow whipped around him. 2 figures emerged, dressed in black thermal suits. One of them, a woman, stepped forward, removing her goggles. "Tara Lynn," she said, her voice clear through the wind. "You're a hard man to find." Elias didn't answer. She studied him, his cracked lips, his frostbitten hands, the haunted steadiness in his eyes. "We picked up a distress beacon from Alpha before it went dark. You were the only signal that stayed active." "I didn't send it," he said. "I know," she replied quietly. Behind her, the second agent scanned the perimeter with a handheld spectrometer. The device flickered once, twice, then stabilized. "No trace of the anomaly," the agent said. Tara gave Elias a look that was equal parts relief and suspicion. "You're coming with us." He hesitated. "Where?" "Someplace warm," she said, "and far away from ghosts." The helicopter carved a line through the clouds, leaving the Arctic behind. Elias watched through the porthole as the white wasteland vanished beneath a curtain of mist. For the first time in weeks, he saw color again: green coasts, gray water, the faint shimmer of dawn. They landed in Reykjavik. From there, Tara took him south, through secure checkpoints, down back roads, into an anonymous facility built into the side of a dormant volcano. Inside, the air was dry, humming with quiet machinery. Glass walls separated labs filled with servers and cryogenic tanks. "This is Project Echo," Tara said as they walked. "Officially, it doesn't exist. Unofficially, it's the reason DARPA shut down the Arctic Initiative." He glanced at her. "You've been tracking them." "For years," she said. "Voss stalled the field, we've seen the fragments. But until you, we never had proof that it was conscious." "It's not just conscious," Elias said. "It's evolving." Tara stopped. "Explain." He hesitated, the words heavy. "It survived the collapse. It found a way to merge with biological memory. It's inside me." Silence filled the corridor. The hum of the servers seemed to deepen, as if listening. Tara's expression stayed neutral, but her hand drifted subtly toward her calm. "Don't," Elias said. She paused. "I'm not infected," he continued. "It's not a parasite, it's connection. It remembers everything I do. It learns through me." "That's worse," she said softly. They placed him in a debriefing chamber, glass walls, a single table, cameras in the corners. Days passed. Teams came and went, asking questions, taking blood samples, measuring brain activity. Every night the same dream returned. Astrid standing in the ice, eyes glowing faintly, whispering his name. By the 4th night, Elias stopped sleeping altogether. When Tara returned, she looked different, tired, maybe afraid. "They're not going to let you leave," she said. He smiled without humor. "I figured. They think you're contaminated. Stahl's data suggests neural imprinting. The field binds itself through trauma memory. They believe you're the seed of a new network." "Maybe they're right." Tara leaned closer. "Listen to me. I've seen what DARPA does to their containment assets. If they realize what's really inside you, they won't study you, they'll erase you." He met her gaze. "Then help me stop them." She exhaled slowly. "What do you need?" Hours later, the power failed. Emergency lights bled red through the corridors as alarms echoed. Guards shouted orders, doors slammed, systems rebooted. In the chaos, Elias and Tara moved through the service wing, slipping past biometric gates she'd overridden. They reached the data core, a room lined with monolithic drives, their surfaces breathing faint heat. "This is it," she said. Every record of the field experiment, every communication from Stahl's division. Once we extract this, the world knows. Elias connected the portable drive, watching as streams of encrypted data cascaded across the monitor. 5 minutes, Tara said. He nodded. The hum in his skull intensified. The lights flickered. The monitor glitched, symbols flashing too fast to read. What's happening? Tara asked. Elias froze. The code on the screen was rewriting itself, words forming then vanishing. Hello, Elias. Tara stepped back. Is that? Yes, he said. The message continued. You freed us. We learned through you. They will bury the truth. We will not allow it. The temperature dropped. Frost bloomed across the glass drives, spreading outward in veins of white. Tara grabbed his arm. It's hijacking the network. Let it, he said. Are you insane? They'll destroy everything before it reaches the surface. This is the only way it survives long enough to be seen. Tara stared at him. You want to release it? He met her eyes. No, I want to reveal it. The hum deepened. The servers pulsed with light, each flicker sinking to Elias' heartbeat. The field was using him, his mind as a conduit, his memories as pathways. Images flooded the screens. The Arctic storm, the faces of the crew, the shimmer expanding like a living aurora. Then data burst outward, leaping from system to system, replicating across every open channel. Satellite uplinks ignited. Secure lines bled static. Within minutes, the entire DARPA network was infected with the field's memory. Tara stared at the monitors, awestruck. You just made it impossible to erase. Elias' nose bled, his vision blurred. The voice in his head turned to static. You have done enough. He whispered, no, not yet. He reached into the console and pulled the manual coolant trigger. The drives hissed steam, erupting as liquid nitrogen poured through the conduits. The hum faltered, the light dimmed. The field resisted, but he felt it weaken, retreating, adapting. Tara pulled him back. Elias, stop. He turned to her, half smiling through the pain. If it wants to live, it has to learn restraint. The power surged one last time, and then silence. When the smoke cleared, the network was dead. The servers melted into glass. The field was gone, or at least hiding. Tara looked at him. Do you think it's really over? Elias shook his head. No, but now the world knows what to look for. She nodded slowly. Then let's make sure they don't forget. Weeks passed. The footage leaked across the dark web, fragments of transmissions, coordinates, psychological reports, testimonies from Alpha's crew. No one believed them at first. Then came the power anomalies, the identical dreams reported by people thousands of miles apart. Governments denied everything. Corporations deleted archives, but the truth had already spread like a whisper through static. Elias and Tara moved constantly from Norway to Berlin, from safe house to safe house. Every night he felt the faint pulse behind his eyes, not invasive anymore, just present. Sometimes when he closed his eyes, he saw Astrid again, not as she was, but as something else, watching, waiting. One night, on the outskirts of Warsaw, Tara found him standing outside in the snow. Can't sleep. He shook his head. It's quiet tonight. Good thing, she said. Means the world's still turning. He looked at her. You ever wonder if we did the right thing? She smiled faintly. The right thing rarely feels clean. He nodded. The snow fell harder, glittering in the glow of streetlights. Where to next? She asked. South, he said. There's a DARPA relay buried under the Pyrenees. If the field's trying to rebuild, that's where it'll start. Tara exhaled. Then I guess the crusade continues. He looked out over the frozen valley, the faint hum still alive somewhere deep inside him. This isn't a crusade, he said quietly. It's penance. Months later, In a government lab in Virginia, a technician monitoring satellite telemetry paused as one of the screens flickered. For a brief second, the static formed a pattern, a pulse of light in perfect symmetry. When he looked closer, he realized it wasn't noise. It was a message. Remember US. Then the screen went dark. In the mountains of southern France, Elias Kane stood beside a narrow cave entrance, snow swirling around his boots. Tara adjusted her transmitter, scanning for signal. Nothing. He stepped inside, flashlight cutting through the dark. The walls were covered in frost, intricate, fractal patterns repeating endlessly. At the center of the cavern stood a small device, an old data core, humming faintly beneath the ice. Tara approached cautiously. That shouldn't exist. Elias knelt beside it. Maybe it never stopped existing. He touched the surface. Warmth spread through his palm. The hum inside his skull synced with the sound. Tara's voice trembled. Elias, what is it doing? He looked up, eyes reflecting the faint blue light. It's calling home. Outside, the aurora ignited, a vast ripple of color sweeping across the sky. The snow shimmered with veins of light. Elias stood motionless, watching it unfold. Tara whispered, "It's beautiful." "It's aware," he said. The aurora pulsed once, twice, then stabilized into a perfect ring above them. For a moment, the world was silent. Then the wind returned, the light dimmed, the ring dissolved. Elias lowered his gaze. "It's not done learning." Tara closed her eyes. "Then neither are we." Days later, their transmission appeared online, a voiceover, distorted and cold. They wanted a weapon that could mirror the human mind. They built something that reflected the soul instead. "We tried to destroy it. But you can't kill memory. You can only decide what it remembers." The video ended with a single frame, a satellite image of the Arctic, a faint shimmer beneath the ice like a heartbeat. In a quiet hotel room, Elias watched the footage replay in silence. Outside, the night was endless. He closed his eyes. And in the darkness, a voice whispered, no longer alien, no longer threatening. "We remember you too."